Record. Good thing I reminded myself because now I'm recording. Hello, everybody. Just explaining so far what I'm doing since the recording is now starting. But yes, if you have missed this on Twitch Live, we are going to be putting this on YouTube right afterwards for you to take a look at. And with all that being said, let's get down to business. Let's get my headset comfortable. Okay, so first thing that we can talk about today is so WWE right now for Raw and SmackDown are filming inside Tropicana Field in Florida, home of the Rays baseball team. Florida, as you may know, has less restrictive rules about crowds gathering, especially at like sporting events. Florida being the home of Disney. Disney's been open for several months now, allowing several thousands of people into each park. You might have noticed at Miami Dolphins games and my Jacksonville Jaguars games, they also have people in the crowd. So yeah, it's generally open for crowds, but WWE has not had crowds, even though they are in Florida. So what's up with that? Well, basically they, so main explanation given is that they have set up this, especially inside, because you see in NXT they have a bit of a crowd, but especially in Tropicana Field, they have it set up for their Thunderdome, all of the kind of equipment and stuff that they have, especially the virtual crowd, is in the way of where a real crowd would be. Especially considering it's a baseball field, the stadium would... the stands of where the stands are in the stadium, where the audience would be kind of far away from the action. And for big events like Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, makes a bit more sense. But when the only seats you're going to have are so far away, and smaller events, Raw and SmackDown, then it's not as good a view. And you'd have to try and take down part of your set to do that. And even with the Royal Rumble coming up, they don't want to take the time to take down the whole set and have to set it back up immediately afterwards for Raw the next day, just to allow a semi-full audience. I kind of understand it in the way that I can't imagine it makes a whole lot of business sense. They're not going to sell a ton of tickets to an event like this just because they're limited to how much they can have. I guess some is better than none, but again, you have the pain, the amount of money it takes for the work that takes to take down all of the set, get it redesigned so it's good for the live crowd, and then have to put it all back up again overnight, which again, they don't have to. I suppose they could leave it partially open, but it's going to be really weird, not as good look if they're having to have all of the action in the middle of the field with a gigantic wide open stadium and not a ton of fans. But on the other hand, the positive side of if they open that up is that, coming to watch WWE, especially at a big event like the Royal Rumble, is a special event, something that's fun for the audience members to be able to come and experience. And you're feeding your audience that way if you're opening it up for them. But it's also good for the wrestlers because that's been the big thing is they haven't been able to feed off the audience, haven't been able to gauge the immediate reactions and the pop of the crowd as they do these different, whether it's moments of the wrestling matches or just overall feel. They haven't really been able to do that. And they have kind of a crowd there, but the crowd, I don't think their noise actually, I don't think their sound actually comes through at all. All of the audience noise is completely piped in. So the noise they're hearing is exactly the noise they want to hear. And even with as far as looking at people's expressions and their signs and stuff, that's all basically directed to them, okay, you need to be happy now, you need to be sad now, you need to boo now. So none of that is natural as far as getting a read of what people are thinking. I don't know for the wrestlers if the piped in noise is just as good, not as good, or as good as it can get in the situation. But it is what it is. So I'm not going to say they should open up for a Royal Rumble or they need to stay shut down. It's really their decision how they want to play it. But I would also say that it being shut down because they don't have it's too much of a pain to do all this stuff. I don't like that excuse as much because they put on these huge productions. They I want to applaud them to this too. The amount of work they do to set up all of the equipment, the ring, the audio electronics, the video electronics, the staging, the lighting, the pyro, all of that, and how fast they do it is amazing. But that also shows that they could do it. It's nice that they haven't had to, but if they were on the road right now, they'd be setting up and taking down this stuff all the time. Maybe not as much because they don't have the Thunderdome, but the production that they have on the regular shows anyways is pretty high. But is what it is. Next story to talk about here could be, let's see here. All right, Drew McIntyre has tested positive for COVID-19. That makes you think, especially with contact tracing, that there's a lot of other stars that may either have COVID or possibly have COVID, and that could have been why the show, Raw's show last Monday was a little weird, a little chaotic, and was missing a lot of superstars. Again, that could have been because they either had COVID or possibly had COVID and are trying to control it. And that being the case, you make do. Understand. They may have had plans, although word is almost always that Vince has kind of destroyed his plans right after he makes them. Reinitiates everything last minute before or even sometimes while the show is going on. But you didn't have the stars there to work with that you normally would. Some storylines that you wanted to further, you couldn't because those stars weren't available to work to further the storylines. As far as Drew McIntyre goes, they're easy. Not easy. There are sure ways to prevent getting COVID. Not being in public a lot, not being around a lot of people, especially people that you're not normally around. It's a way to do that. And knowing how important it is for the company and for him to stay healthy and able to wrestle is definitely an important thing. Now, I don't know the circumstances that he got COVID. I don't know if he was out partying, if he was at a friend's birthday party, if he was, if this is from Christmas and he was gathering with friends from Christmas, or if he just happened to somehow slightly pick it up from going to the store, or whatever else he might be doing that you would think, okay, chances are really low of me getting COVID and I just happen to have caught it. I don't know. So I can't chastise him too much for you should have done the right thing, because I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if it was the right thing. I don't know if he just happened to have caught it when the chances of him catching it were low. But again, you got to be somewhat careful when the entire company's riding on you, when you're getting paid the big bucks to be the face of the franchise, and it ends up coming down to you weren't able to. But yeah, so I don't know how long Drew's going to be out for. I don't know how well or how harshly this is affecting him. and hopefully it doesn't affect a whole too many other people. We'll just have to see. I would imagine that his matchup with Goldberg is gone unless they're wanting to hold that way over. And I kind of hope they don't hold it over. I didn't want the match to begin with. It'd be kind of funny to think that he's using COVID to have to get out of this match that he otherwise would have to get to wrestle. Excuse me. Actually, excuse me just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. It was a little bit of a sinus attack. I have those every once in a while. So we had Ryback calling Paul Heyman out, calling him some bad names on Twitter, and basically saying that if they both had a mic in their hands, he could destroy Paul Heyman, because Ryback is just that good on the mic. There's a few things here. Where should we start with this? I'll start with the most obvious, I think. Ryback, not bad on the mic, but I don't think he was ever really that good, and Paul Heyman is the best of the best. Like, whatever he's talking about, not only does he do a good job, he's super entertaining. I cannot imagine Ryback actually being toe-to-toe on the mic with Paul Heyman in any regards. And of course he's going to say otherwise himself because he has that self-confidence and he's trying to talk himself up and whatever. Maybe he's just full of it, but out of the things he said, that would be the thing I most question. Him hating Paul Heyman, and this goes with between the wrestlers and everybody that's pulling the strings in WWE. If you're getting what you want, you're happy. You're saying that everything's run well and everything's great. If you're not getting what you want, then you have somebody whose fault it is. And maybe it is their fault, and maybe it's not their fault. But either way, that's what it comes down to, is this guy held me back, or this guy hates me, or I never got my chance because of this guy. This guy wrote stupid stuff for me that I had to do. That kind of thing. And to take a further look at that, you do have a lot of talent, a talent that fails in WWE, that are like, I never got my chance, or these people were against me, or I was becoming too popular when they wanted me to be a mid-carder. And do you think that's true? Why would they hold back talent that people really genuinely like and they can make money off of, and just hold them back or get rid of them? I do think it's true. I think it's because of the way that WWE is set up, where you're judged by the people that you really throw your support behind, and if they do a good job, then you get credit for it. And if they don't do a good job, or if you say this person's not good, never going to work out, never going to get over, and he does, and again, you look like a fool, you don't know what you're talking about. So you have someone who is handpicked by producer A, and he's not doing very well. We're going to give him more chances. Fans aren't really liking him. We're going to have the ring announcers talk him up. We're going to give them more time on the mic to get themselves over. We're going to give them bigger matches and more victories, because sometimes just winning is the solution for legitimacy. And if somebody's in the way, if a Damien Sandow is in the way, he's doing well, he's getting over, and this isn't just Damien Sandow. In fact, this is Ryback we're talking about here. If people are in the way of that person who's really supported from making to the top, then instead of taking your person and getting them to the top, what they do is they take the other person that is on top and tear them down. So you have a lot of, again, lower people that have gone through that experience, whereas you have people like CM Punk, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre now, possibly, who are like, oh no, WWE, if you put yourself out there and you grab that ring and you go for it and that works for you, then you're going to take off. And Vince is so receptive to listening to what you have to say. I go into his office all the time and I'm like, hey, we should try blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, good job, pal. That's a great idea, pal. We'll try that out. And they're not lying either way. There's just different experiences for the different stars depending on how important they are to the company. Someone important like John Cena can walk in and say his mind and not worried about getting fired, and Vince is going to be a lot more receptive of it because that's his moneymaker, that's his cash cow. That's also somebody who has proven that he can do what it takes to get viewers to watch WWE. And same with, you had CM Punk saying stuff like this even when he wasn't the most well-liked. I mean, he's obviously went out on bad terms. But he's saying, yeah, I would go into the office and I would say, hey, we need to do this, this, or that. And they'd be like, oh, sure, let's do that. Good idea. So it just depends on who you are. Because, I mean, we've had other superstars on the lower end who are like, I went off script and I did this because I thought that was better for my character. And 2 weeks later, they're fired. Because how dare you? So it's not that one's right or one's wrong. It's unfortunately it's just how it goes. Let's see. Look at viewership now for a second. I did see that Raw was up around 2 million viewers, surprisingly. And last week we had ISIS was a little further ago, so those numbers aren't going to be good. Let's see. Right. We had Timothy Thatcher versus Ciampa in a fight cage match that was supposed to happen last week. Did not happen. They had said that Thatcher had injured himself during training and was not medically cleared to compete. It looks like that's a work. He's not actually injured. They just wanted to hold this match over for a pay-per-view, which on one hand is a good idea because it's going to be a pay-per-view quality match. But on the other hand, that was the point of having it when they were having it, to go up against AEW and have it in their New Year's Evil kind of themed show. And it would have been cool. I'm not mad that they're holding it over. I'm just a little confused on why they're holding it over. But, NXT's proven that they do good things. So I'm not too angry about it. We'll just get a good show when we finally get it in a couple of weeks when they have their next pay-per-view. Let's see here. Well, with the lack of questions here, we're going to just go into our preview, especially because I have a limited amount of time before I go back to work myself. So let's take a quick look at NXT here. Tonight on NXT, we are having Grizzly. So yeah, we had some of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and I guess we can kind of talk about that. The Rhodes family is kind of on bad terms with WWE at the moment. But WWE is using a lot of Dusty Rhodes inventions, which a lot of times they were invented for WWE or WCW, which WWE owns. No big deal there. And they started this Dusty Rhodes Classic before Dusty Rhodes passed away. But they're still using his name, the Dusty Rhodes Classic, for this tag team wrestling tournament that they're having in NXT. Which I guess is fine, but it seems a little weird that they're really hanging on tight to the Dusty Rhodes name, despite Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes, or Goldust, having gone to AEW and not being on the greatest terms with WWE at the moment. But I guess, I understand it's a family thing, but you should understand that your dad was part of the WWE WCW production and has a legacy with them. He himself not on bad terms as he had passed away. Would he be now? I don't know, maybe. Because I do kind of feel like both Cody and Dustin were getting special treatment with WWE because of Dusty Rhodes being a big part there, but also Dusty Rhodes getting good treatment because his sons were part of the company too. But anyway, so in the Dusty Rhodes Classic, we have matches: Grizzled Young Veterans versus Everrise. Grizzled Young Veterans mostly from the NXT UK. Everrise I've seen in a couple matches lately on NXT. They seemed like jobbers. I don't know jobbers, but they're getting a lot of attention. So NXT kind of does this thing where they bring someone up. They usually don't just skyrocket them. A lot of times they'll have these new people come up and have several legit matches where they lose and then they start to win their way up until they have a legitimate position themselves. And I do kind of like that. It makes a lot more sense. And that's not everybody. Look at blanking on names, but they've had some people more recently that they come in and win everything and move their way to the top really fast. We have Dexter Lumis set for a showdown with NXT American Champion Johnny Gargano. So I guess they're going to have a match. It's probably not for the title. I do like Dexter Lumis. Johnny Gargano's gotten over on me. Always been good in the ring, though. This will be interesting, especially if it's not for the tag title, which means that it's, Gargano's more likely to lose because I don't think he would lose the title to Dexter Lumis on a show like this. We also have Shotzi Blackheart set to battle with Candice LeRae, and Undisputed Era versus Breezango in the Dusty Classic. And that's a pretty quality match that looks like it's going to be their main event for a first round match in the Dusty Cup. So that is NXT for you. Looks like we got a couple of interesting matches. Nothing super big, but that's fine. As far as AEW goes, it looks like we got Darby Allin versus Brian Cage. Championship match. I believe this is for the TNT Championship, not the FTW Championship. I don't believe it's for both belts. Being a championship match, I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Darby's going to retain somehow. Brian Cage could be a champion for sure right now, but they just gave the title to Darby. Darby's getting along with Sting, so they definitely got some plans to hold all over on him, not to have him give up the title so fast. We have Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks in action. Not exactly sure what that means. Are they teaming up or what? We got Serena Deeb versus Tay Conti for the NWA World's Championship. It's always fun to see the other titles, especially being wrestled for on the show, but you wouldn't expect to see it change hands on a different show. But Tay Conti looks like they've gotten Dark Order's Anna Jay, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds with her versus Serena Deeb, who is the current champion over at NWA. Also kind of funny is Serena Deeb's record in AEW wasn't very good, and then all of a sudden she had the NWA championship, and she's winning more with it, of course. But it's just kind of funny how her record was for a champion at the time. But records are kind of reset because of the new year. We also have what are the Inner Circle's New Year's resolutions, another kind of a fun spot, non-wrestling spot with Inner Circle. We have Jurassic Express versus FTR. I'm really looking forward to this. They could use this as a really good launching spot for Jurassic Express. And Jurassic Express, I believe Marco Stunt is going to be in this match along with Luchasaurus instead of Jungle Boy. But they could use this as a launching pad for Jurassic Express. I don't think they will, especially because they got Marco Stunt in it. But at the same time, he's kind of more of a babyface, and he kind of, stepped up. To have him fail when he's doing that wouldn't be a good look. But yeah, either you have Jurassic Express getting a huge win here and boosting their way up into the scene again, which I would love because they are quality. All three of them are quality wrestlers, and they work super well as a team too. And FTR, if they get a win here, it's a legit win. I don't know if it boosts them up way too much, but if they want to keep them as a big part of the tag scene right now, a win here would keep them moving up and possibly towards a rematch for the tag titles. You have Chuck Taylor versus Miro. If Chuck loses, he becomes Miro's young boy. I kind of typed that out on Twitter last time that Miro wants a young boy, but if you haven't been watching, young boy is a Japanese wrestling term where it's basically a gopher protege. You kind of do the work for the older veteran wrestler, but you're also learning a lot from him. And we'll get a waiting room show featuring Dr. Britt Baker tonight. Those have been on the dark shows a lot, not on the main show. So we'll see how that goes over with the main show. And then we have a grudge match, Pac versus Eddie Kingston, which should be a great match, and I believe that's going to be the main event. Neither show looks as amazing as they were before, but AEW's got some big matches coming up, especially their title matches. I'm going to have to give AEW my approval for the show of the night. And definitely watching both, though. So, hope you guys had a fun time watching the show. And we'll be back again next week, of course. Let's see here. We're going to raid Kyle Gaming for anybody that's out there. Send you into some MLB The Show, and have a fun time watching wrestling tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.